Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Thanks for joining me today. I won't keep you too long. I suppose I just kind of wanted to touch base with you after finishing fifth at the World Championships there a few weeks ago. See how you're recovering, how the race went for you, and everything in between. So you were with how,
Team Expenature.fr Sud Raid. Yeah, a bit of a tongue twister.
okay, and you have raced with two of them on the team prior to this. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, back in April, myself and Romy and a last minute who came in was Robbie from South Africa. Raced together with another French guy called Anthony in the Ozark AR. So last April in the US.
Okay.
So yeah, we just raced once before, and then our teammate Anthony last minute couldn't come because of personal reasons to South Africa. So literally just a couple of weeks before, we pulled Gino in, which is another French guy there, you see. So yeah, he was just kind of met him a couple of days, I suppose, before the
Okay.
race when he landed.
Okay.
Um,
So you'd never
so
met
yeah.
him before, so he was brand new to
No,
the team.
Romy knew him in France,
Okay.
but no, never met him before.
Okay. So at least somebody knew him, so there was some connection there, and
Yeah,
he
totally.
wasn't totally new. Very
Yeah.
good. And I suppose just with your work up to the World Championships, like, it's a big effort to get out there and get all the gear together, and obviously racing with somebody that you hadn't raced with before. How did that all kind of gel together at the lead up to it, and how did you get all your gear sorted and stuff like that?
Well, believe it or not, it was a bit of lastminute.com. Preparation was very minimal. We didn't communicate a huge amount before. Just kind of everyone is, I suppose. Robbie, his first adventure race was actually out in the Ozarks, first long expedition style adventure race. So Robbie is a total jungle man and just rocks up with two pairs of socks with a hole in them, one pair of shorts, and just gets on with it. So, yeah, we just bring him a bit of extra gear, a bit of lights and stuff, and he'll just go for it.
Okay,
I
brilliant.
suppose Romy's one of the most experienced adventure racers out there. So, um, yeah, kind of had everything prepared. We had raced before in the Ozarks, so kind of started to get to know each other, I suppose. And then, yeah, just kind of a week before, I suppose we started communicating a little bit. They only booked their flights like 2 or 3 weeks before the race. So definitely no pressure. Just we just kind of rocked out, and once we arrived out there, we just started to organize ourselves at our own pace. And definitely no drama.
Great.
There was no big mad build up or anything like that at all. Unfortunately, because we're in different countries and everything, we didn't get to train together. So yeah, we just kind of did our own thing, I suppose, and um, trusted each other that we'd be right to the start line in good shape.
Brilliant. Okay, that sounds very calm and collected and
Yeah,
easy going. That sounds really good. And I
yeah.
suppose once you were all there, and obviously the whole thing begins to kick off between the flag ceremony and obviously going out then and registering and going in and getting the captain's briefing and everything. Kind of once all that was done and you had all your bike boxes and everything packed, then I suppose the biggest thing before we move on from that was the weighing of the bike boxes and food boxes and transition boxes. So how did that go for you? Did you have any issues? Did you have stuff to take out? Was there a bit of like, oh shoot, we need to ditch something?
Oh yeah, yeah. We definitely we had to ditch a lot. Definitely didn't bring much food with us. I was compromising for my chocolate milk with a couple of pairs of underwear. Went down to that. I was like, I can definitely get away with 3 pair of underwear just to bring that liter of chocolate milk. Um, yeah, not a good idea, by the way. um, but yeah, no, definitely the weight restriction. Yeah, was a big thing. But for me personally, I'm better off bringing less items anyway. I, in general, wear almost the same thing all the time for the race unless I get wet. So I'm probably better off arriving into transition and not being overwhelmed with a number of things. So yeah, it was probably good for me maybe in the long run, and
Yeah,
not to have a huge amount of variety.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, we definitely had to minimize down a lot, as everyone did.
Yeah, it was a funny one, all right. And the bike boxes as well were kind of fairly strict, so there was no food
Mhm.
to be put into the bike boxes and stuff like that. Were you okay with the bike boxes then, or was there still people swapping out? Like, I don't know, Rachel, but I think a lot of the time with the females on the team, their bike is the lightest because it's more than likely the smallest. So were they kind of saying, is there room in your bike box there, Rachel, for some gear, or were you okay for
Actually,
that?
on this occasion, I'd say my bike, I have a titanium hardtail, and the lads are all on light carbon bikes. So, say my bike potentially would have been heavier than their bikes anyway
Okay,
on
okay,
this occasion. So yeah, no, I'd say we're fairly even out on the bike scale.
okay. That wasn't too bad. So,
Yeah.
so it was obviously an early start for you. I gather it was like 4 o'clock, and off you got on the bus and away off to the start line, and obviously getting ready to start the race. How did that all go for you? Were you discussing tactics on the bus going out after, after the captain's briefing and stuff like that? You would have obviously spoke about what to look out for. Was there anything that you were kind of mainly worried about on the course, or was it just like, yeah, let's just all take it in our stride, which was probably a bit of that too. But was there anything kind of poignant that was like going, okay, we kind of really need to keep an eye out for that, or we need to get there at this stage, or was there anything that was
Um,
top of your list?
no, I don't think so. Actually, there was really no pressure. Like there was no. Yeah, no, we just rock up to the start. Romy has a tendency, which apparently he's always done since adventure racing, to start off in a sprint. So we were in the
Nice
top
one.
three for, yeah, probably the first hour, couple of hours. Yeah, so for me, I'm always going to be under a lot of pressure in the first 3 hours, and then I know I'm fine. I definitely had too much in my bag, too much water, ate too much beforehand, all the usual things that I learn 100 times, and like, right, next time I get that right. But um, yeah, so no, we just kind of rocked up. There was no pressure. I don't think anyone was nervous, or yeah, just get on with it. Like, it's too long to worry about trivial things. You can just do your best. Like, obviously there's going to be ups and downs and everything else, so there's no point in losing energy at the start, I think, with uh anxieties anyway for long races, I feel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So no, it was really cool. We were just having fun, and I think, like, the values of the team and the reason we get on is, yeah, it's very lighthearted, no stress, and it's just, the goal is to go out there and have fun. And I think that's the secret to success a lot of times, and particularly in long races.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, you start and you finish in that manner, kind of.
Okay,
Um,
and you were saying so you took off pretty quick on the first leg, and the first leg was, it was a bit there was a bit in it in terms of it was a bit hilly, water, like, he advised, I think, for everyone to top up as they went along, because water would have been scarce. I think a few people got caught out the when they hit the coast, in terms of maybe not totally filling up water at the last area where they could have filled up water, and then they reached the coast and they had a long, was it 20 or 24K trek, and a couple of little river crossings as well. Um, Obviously you took off, so you would have covered quite a bit of ground in the first 3 hours and maybe let off the gas a tiny bit, but still covering ground, I'm sure, Rachel, as you were tipping along. When you hit the dunes, were you okay for water, or how were you fixed? Because you would have been hitting that probably, it would have been quite warm when you hit that area, like.
Yeah, so actually, when we hit the dunes, the wheels fell off, and Gino unfortunately got heat stroke,
Oh,
very severe, very,
yeah.
very severe. So we went from moving, in the top three mix, to, once hitting that, everyone just taking us out. So you had, Vita Aid passing us out. We kind of did a bit of yo-yoing with them, the Japanese team, and yeah, kind of everyone basically slowly passes out. The other French team, he just couldn't keep anything in and just had absolutely no power. So yeah, we ended up putting him on a rope and kind of just, trying to get him to move a little bit, but we were stopping you know, 5-10 minutes with him. He needed to have a break. And yeah, it was just really, really, really suffering. And that was basically the start of his whole race suffering. So from start to finish, from that point to the very end, and even the days afterwards, what he went through was absolutely phenomenal. To get through the race and to allow us to help him to get through the race and still, you know, be there in the best attitude that he could be in was pretty impressive. And I've been through many races like that with people who have just let their ego go and just be there for the team and say, do what you can, take my bag. We just took his bag, took everything. And yeah, there was times he felt better, but more times where he was like, nothing was staying in, everything was coming out, everything in. So he went through a lot.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that was the start of us going, okay, now it's a case of just getting through this in the best way we can. And just, we didn't focus on anything about being slow or about stopping loads of times. We just kept focusing on moving forward without stopping. So there's no stopping for big breaks. It's keep moving. If you really need to stop, but we're pulling you on, like,
Yeah.
And that's where transitions as well became even more important. Just been focused on the time we're spending and wasting in them, rather than, even if you're moving slow, just to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah, so
don't.
the wheels came off in that part actually,
I,
and we lost a couple of hours there on that beach
yeah.
section, even though it was so runnable. We were kind of pulling him along, running bits, and I, like, once we hit the dunes, I actually felt great, because it's just the way it is for me. The first 3 hours are always really tough, as I think it is actually for most females, kind of racing on stronger teams. And then after that, like the last 2 days, I felt really, really strong. I started getting stronger. But yeah, those first few hours where you're going from 0 to 100, what feels like 100, for me is definitely not my favorite part of the race. But yeah, so that first part, as I said, was getting into that transition. Was we had to get there.
Yeah. I don't think you were the only ones that suffered with heat stroke on that section. I think a lot of people found the heat on that day very difficult to deal with. Definitely lots of teams had one, if not two people suffering, you know. It was seemingly quite tough for everybody out there. But so you made it through the swim, you got to transition. How did the little swim go for you? Not a bother, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, no, I enjoyed that actually. It was good.
Yeah, it was nice and
Really
cool.
nice.
Yeah.
No bother. Let out a few songs along the way, and no, it was really nice. I didn't mind that at all. Kind of, we arrived there, it was just getting dark, and cooled us down a bit anyway.
Yeah. So in the first transition, you're coming out, you're obviously all wet. Obviously, from a hot day, it was nice for you to come out of there, get a bit wet, but then you're heading into transition. The lads are getting the maps, and you're obviously looking after the guys and getting gear ready and whatnot. So you're dealing with somebody sick on the team. How did you cope with moving into that transition then, Rachel, with a sick teammate potentially?
So just got him in there and put him. So we made a big mistake there, actually, in hindsight. He was really not feeling good and really didn't want to move out of that transition. He wanted to stop there for a little bit, and he wasn't really in a state of mind to make that decision. But I suppose we let him make the decision, and we did stay there for longer than we should have. So put him into the transition, put his legs up, and put him into a bivvy basically, and try to get him to rest. But in transition is the worst place to rest, obviously. And people kept coming over talking to him, and people know him, so he didn't really get much rest. He obviously was lying down, but he didn't get any sleep, he didn't get much rest. And so I think we wasted too much time there for sure. We should have just actually got in there and got him out, and 20 minutes down the road, pulled in and let him rest there. But anyway, it's easy to say in hindsight. It's very different when you have to mark the maps and you're losing time there anyway. So we got out of there anyway and got on the bike. And then, that was our, I suppose, another turning point for us, because we took a big nav error and added on an extra 4 hours. So we went into bin in, I think it was 68th position. By halfway through the second place, from going from like up in the top 3 at the start to now been in 68th after that night when sunrise came. So we took a wrong turn, a silly wrong turn. Basically, Romy was doing the nav, and he's absolutely phenomenal nav. But at the same time, we were sharing out Gino's stuff, and at that time he was pulling Gino on the bike, so obviously couldn't concentrate. Too much going on, and took a left turn on a very obvious right turn, which every team took. There wasn't even a question about it, and we went down the road, I don't know, 20k more on a really rough track up a hill. And then everyone felt really bad. I was kind of wondering how we weren't passing people, or the people passing us, but we pulled into a shed and slept. I didn't sleep. I don't really sleep much in these at all. And so the lads thought we slept an hour. We actually slept 20 minutes. I woke them up and told them that the usual going on. Woke them up and said, like, no teams have passed here. There's something wrong. And they were like, how do you know? And I was like, because I haven't slept. And then they looked at the maps and we realized we're completely in the wrong place. So we've now wasted 4 hours. We have to cycle back in the exact same road that we're after taking. Daylight comes and we now reach back onto where we go and we start passing out all the end teams, the back teams. I pass out my old teammates, team disability. They were like, what the hell are you doing here while we're bombing up the hill past them? And I was like, should just get a bit of extra training. And then we end up in that cafe where everyone was kind of hanging out, eating breakfast or whatever. And we literally just went in, filled the water and just kept moving. And then, so we went basically from 68th position to catching our way back to 5th by the end. So it was just a game of, moving forward, not losing the head, where I think a lot of teams there would be like, oh, well, this is definitely game over. Losing this amount of hours so early on for such a trivial mistake that, shouldn't have been made, really. But yeah, we didn't actually focus on that. It didn't bother us what position we were in or what we were doing. We didn't even ask what position we were in or what anything was. We were just kept going, and knowing that it's a long race anyway.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about those races. They are so long. You never know what's happening anywhere in the field with any other team or how they're coping, or so there's always a chance to come back, really, isn't there? Maybe.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, like I think that's one of the good things about it is if you're strong bikers, you can pick off on the bike. If you're good runners, obviously every team might be a little bit better on the bike, or some teams are pretty equal on both, which is brilliant. But I think sometimes if you have a little, if there's a little bit there in terms of an area that a team are good and they can pick up a couple of places here and there. So it's never over.
That's
Till
it.
it's over.
Yeah. So yeah, we just kept chipping along then anyway, and just kind of having fun, been in the moment. I suppose just moving with purpose all the time as best we could with Gino being sick as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was good.
I suppose just one of the questions that, like in terms of the whole race, not alone at the first leg, how did you manage with water? What was like? I suppose a lot of teams did suffer with water consumption in terms of not having enough, and suffering that in a way. Other teams managed quite well with their water. They carried enough. How did you fare out?
So, having suffered from hyponatremia before and been in a coma for over 40 hours with lack of sodium, I'm very I'm quite sensitive to it. So I always preload a lot in the days beforehand with electrolytes. And so I did that. And then the first day I drank quite a lot. And then after that, like, we never carried more than a litre at a time. So very, very little. The guys drink very little. Romy drinks very, very little. As Robbie, probably a little bit more, Gino a little bit more, but very, very little. And I made a decision that I was not just going to put chlorine tablets in the water, which I'm glad I didn't. So I had a filter, squeezy filter, and as well as that, I put the chlorine tabs in. And I think that's actually what saved me, because I think a lot of people put the chlorine tabs in, but they're still consuming a lot of particles, even though, there might be no bacteria and they're still consuming actual particles that's going into their stomach and into their intestines and that, which I think is one of the reasons a lot of people maybe got sick, that and the dirty water in the kayak river. But so yeah,
I'd agree. I agree with you. I
so
think a filter is the way to go. Like,
yeah,
filter out all the
so
crap.
so that was a problem. But then later on in the race, Robbie got really, really sick, and we don't think it was heat stroke because, he's South African and used to some serious heat, and is a pro ultra runner, so definitely used to a lot of heat. But he really suffered and had really bad vomit and diarrhea for about 20 hours. So that was definitely the water, and he was he's from there, but he was drinking a lot of the water direct.
Okay.
Maybe adding in a chlorine tab, but he was drinking a lot of it direct, so he got really, really sick for about 20 hours. So him and Gino were down during that time, which was interesting. So I do think the water was a big issue, and I think it's something that, if you get it right, you save hours.
Yeah.
But it's like a happy medium of, like, water is the enemy, as Romy says, because it's just so bloody heavy.
Yeah.
Like, it just weighs you down, and as you know, carrying a bag with more weight means more pressure on your joints. It means you're going slower, you're getting more tired. So yeah, it's about kind of hitting a happy medium. So I think we managed it not too bad with the water. We never really ran out, maybe
Yeah.
once.
Well, that was
Not too
good.
bad.
That was good.
I think for me, one of the things I realized a lot is like, when I can, like, chocolate milk, soy chocolate milk, or Coke, or something that is in water, is the way for me to go at any opportunity that's possible, to consume liquid that's not water, that's got something else in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And it's
probably
always nice to see something different as well,
yeah,
during the
yeah,
race,
yeah,
because it's such a long race.
yeah,
I suppose, like, you would have went on to the kayak, then you got down the kayak section okay. That was a bit tough
yeah.
for some teams. A lot of teams came out a bit beaten
Uh,
up and quite sick, actually. A lot of people were vomiting at the end of it and stuff, obviously from the water. How
yeah.
did you fare out?
Actually, the kayak section we did really well. I had to pull the seat out because the lads made some homemade seats, and of course, I got a big, thick, cushioned one and had absolutely no balance. So I was hopping around and hopped out once while Romy stayed in the boat. So I pulled out the seat altogether and just sat in the kayak. So I was a bit lower down. And sure, like, I've a steel, I've an arse of steel anyway from all the cycling, so it didn't really bother me too much. And that was fine. But actually, in the uh, kind of abseiling before that, I had cracked a rib, or ribs, which I'd actually thought then that I'd done in the kayak, because I hadn't felt it till the kayak. So that affected me a little bit for the rest of the race, but I didn't really dwell on it, or didn't focus on it, didn't become an issue.
Okay.
But yeah, when I was kayaking, I suppose it was the first time I kind of felt that with the movement, using your core. But yeah, Romy is a kayak instructor, and Gino's pretty handy in it as well. So yeah, I think we were not too bad. It's probably the discipline that I need the most, that I can improve on the most at the moment, is just water skills in general. So it's gonna be a focus for the next year or two, I think, to improve just my individual skills in the water.
Perfect. And I suppose, what would be like, there's a lot to digest, and we've only a short time here today, I suppose, to talk about a lot of stuff,
Yeah,
Rachel. But I suppose, like, there the 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 legs were long. Sorry, I taken a second to get
yeah,
that out. They were long. So each leg was long. So when you're in it, like, you're in it. You know what I mean? So, like, you
yeah.
had the monster bike ride. Well, there were two big monster bike rides, but you had the monster one in the middle. And then you had the desert hike. I suppose, just like, in terms of the long bikes, uh, was everybody okay for that long bike, or were you still experiencing sickness on the team? Like, was your man still not 100%?
Yeah, so biking, I suppose, is probably my maybe my stronger of the disciplines at the moment. But yeah, that long bike one for me was probably one of the most memorable sections I've ever done in a race. So basically what happened is we headed off with the team there with the Ecuadorians and there's a Brazilian girl with 3 Spanish guys, Marina is her name. And yeah, we all headed off together, had a similar pace, and the Ecuadorians pulled back a bit and we pulled on with the others, and we ended up at the same pace. So we decided to go together. So we stuck together for maybe 6 hours in like a peloton.
Oh, brilliant.
Through the night, and it was the most incredible night because it was a very hilly ride. So we were, like, it was race pace, pounding it out, and myself and Marina, the other female on the other team, never stopped from start to finish on singing. So we were, hands in the air, singing as loud as we could, every few words of every song that came into our head, from Spice Girls to Oasis to,
Brilliant.
the Eurovision gospel choir. So when we I never met this person before. Like, they won the race in Brazil actually earlier in the year. She's super strong. She's been racing for years and adventure racing. But yeah, it was just such a strong moment we shared with that team. Like, so powerful. Like, the connection was just unreal, going through the night with the stars and just singing and roaring and just pumped on adrenaline. And we had about 200 meters to go until we were going to stop at a shop. And of course, that's when you lose your concentration, when you're about to hit the stop. And Romy had a really bad head-on crash where he buckled his wheel. And so it was a really sad moment because we obviously didn't want them waiting for us now. So they had to go on, and we stopped into this shop. Somehow the lads managed to jump on the wheel a bit, and we stopped there for half an hour, had a sleep. And Romy managed to cycle about 70k on a buckled tire, buckled wheel, completely buckled, so dangerous, but into the next transition. And we were on a trek.
Sorry, Rachel, was that from the shop past the church? Let's say the church was on that section as well. Would that be right?
Could have been. It was about 60k away. It was a garage one. It was open all night.
Yeah.
What's the chances of hitting one all night? So yeah, stopped there, and cycled in, and then we were on trek, and we said, okay, we'll sort it out when we get back to the bike. We won't worry about it. No big deal. Because like when we get there, if some other team has pulled out, maybe we can borrow their wheel or whatever. And we said we wouldn't dwell on it. We would focus on it when we arrive at the next transition, when the bike is back there again. So we just didn't make a big deal of it, got on with it. And we got another wheel when we arrived at the bike the other side. And so yeah, that section for me was just epic. Absolutely class. And the other bike section, the super hilly one,
yeah,
absolutely loved it. Like technical downhill biking is definitely my thing. I love it, and uphill as well. So yeah, it suited me. Bomb down the bottom, and he was flying on the downhill because he wasn't feeling sick on the downhill. So we were like, yeah, I think as a team we're pretty strong on the bike.
Brilliant.
So yeah, it was really fun. Good. I don't think I found the biking.
The biking.
I didn't find it too long or too challenging.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, it was good. I suppose just before we finish up, like, massive race, massive achievement, and congratulations in terms of finishing 5th. I mean, if all had gone well, it could have been a different outcome. You could have been a bit further up that ladder. But with everything that you had to deal with, I mean, to claw back all those paces, get on your bikes, help out your teammates, like, massive kudos to the team for bringing it back up and hitting the top 5 in the World Championships. I suppose in terms of being able to describe crossing the line, which you look like really happy and delighted, what were your feelings coming across the line?
I suppose it's kind of an interesting one, because I think for all of us, we made a decision that our goal was to be out there as a team and to have fun, and whatever the outcome was, the outcome was. So unlike a lot of other teams, we weren't out there to really place somewhere. And I think that was the secret to success, was that we were just out there to have fun, to be our best. We were a pretty strong team. And having that attitude is why we end up getting through everything. And before we came to the finish line just at the beach, we all had a stop and went into the water, the four of us together, and had a group hug and just told each other how much like we appreciated the moment together and how grateful we were for it all. And that the finish line is great, but it was, it's not about the finish line either. It's about getting to the finish line, but it was definitely a journey getting there all together. And yeah, what you go through as with your teammates and these things are, it's really, really deep and really powerful. Actually, just a quick story. I was on the way to the airport then afterwards, a couple of days later in Cape Town, and I saw a girl who I hadn't met at all during the course. She was from Chile, and she must have been racing with another team anyway. And she spotted my bike box, and we both just caught eye contact. And she just came over to me, and we just had a hug. And we were like, wow, this was so powerful. We're like, yeah, I don't even know her. I don't even, she started following me, I think, on social media, but like never met her before, but never saw her out there. Nothing, just that connection that you can have with people who have just gone through, yeah, they've gone through their own story and experience. I think that's the deep thing about this community, and it's the difference between, doing solo events compared to doing team events. Like everything has its pros and cons, but that's what's yeah, so deep and powerful about going out there with a team which you can race with on a one-off or race with on a regular basis. It's just like yeah, really moving experiences.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't think that answers your question, but anyway, it's a bit of a waffle.
No. It's nice to know that you took time and you had a little dip in the water, and you took the time
Yeah.
out before you crossed the line as a team, which I think is really, really nice, and that you're together in that moment coming across the sand, and just being very appreciative of the moments that you spent, and obviously the help that you've all given one another, like, in whatever way, when you reach that finish line. It's a very emotional time, I think, for most racers. Once you get across that line, it's like, for some it's like 5.5 days, 6 days. Other people are out there a bit longer, and I think that's one of the things that is great about the races in Expedition Africa, is so many teams get to finish the full course. Whereas currently with the World Series at the moment, there's only 5 teams on the full course. So it's so nice to see that over 45 teams finished the full course, and out of that, you were in the top 5. So
Yeah.
congratulations, Rachel. Well done.
Yeah. But yeah, when you think about it, like there's so much going on in the world where people are suffering and they have no choice.
Mm.
And everyone who gets there to the start line, who has the privilege and the money and the opportunity to go out there and put themselves through this to have an opportunity and to have an experience, it's like, we're of a small fraction of the world that have this opportunity in life to have these options.
Yeah, and
So yeah, I
experiences.
think the main thing is like